Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here under this, like David said, on this not Lisbon-worthy weather. People elsewhere are having it worse, but this is already bad enough for us. So I'm going to talk about Scrum and agencies. Where is the product owner? I know that classically most debates in these meetups are usually centered around the role of Scrum Master. So for a bit of a change, I'll have a more focus on the role of product owner. So first of all, who am I? What I'm doing professionally right now, I'm a product manager at Onfido, London-based startup bringing the world's identities safely online. We're already 5 years old, we have already 1,500 customers, and we have offices in London, Lisbon, San Francisco, New York, and we're hiring most of them, so check us out also. Before that, and this talk is mostly based on that, on the experience from back then. I've worked as a product manager at Premium Minds, a software development company working mostly on the agency model, so not having their own product as Onfido has, but developing software products for clients, where I started as a software engineer, and before that, I worked as a researcher. So let's talk about the product owner role and how the Scrum guide describes it. So stuff that the Scrum guide says, it says for the product owner to succeed, the entire organization must respect his or her decisions. Also says development teams are structured and empowered by the organization to organize and manage their own work. Also says that Scrum Master serves the organization in several words. The organization, the organization, the organization. This word keeps appearing in the Scrum guide, but probably doesn't mean what you think it means. Or at least when you bring this to an agency setting, when you have a company providing software development services using Scrum as their method, the organization doesn't end like at the door. Okay? The organization, in fact, and if we look at what the organization means in Scrum, the organization in this scenario involves both the client and the agency, two entities bound by a contract. That's essentially what keeps this organization somehow together, is the existence of a contract. But Agile also talks about contracts in some way. It tells us about customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Of course, we all know that this doesn't mean that Agile forbids contract negotiation. Over means that simply Agile values customer collaboration more than contract negotiations. But in this setting, in this organization, the contract is something you cannot just get around. So the question here is, how do we make the best out of it? How do we set this organization up so that customer collaboration can in fact happen and strive over the contract negotiation, despite the contract being something we cannot take away. So this is a classical diagram of Scrum. And some people say that Scrum is a very rigid methodology, and this would make it look like so. But one thing that makes it, in which Scrum is really not rigid at all, is at defining the role of the product owner. It says stuff in the lines of the product owner delivers, makes sure that the most value is delivered, etc. But it doesn't exactly tell how. And in fact, that's where the product owner spends most time, is exactly on this part of Scrum. And this is the part that's least defined in Scrum, in the role of product owner in Scrum. And this is essentially product management. This is why the product manager, well, let's not talk about other Scrum-like frameworks where product manager and product owner are different roles. Not that in Scrum, we have the product owner Scrum role, which is usually fulfilled by a person whose job title is product manager, and who has within their responsibility that part which is essentially product manager, managing input from executives, from the team, from stakeholders, from the customers, from the market, from users, digesting all of it, saying yes to some things, no to some other things, ideally saying yes and no to the right things at the right time to then fulfill the role as Scrum's puts it, at delivering most value to the product that's being delivered. Some more classical definitions of product management are the one from Martin Erickson, about the product manager being somewhere in the cross between user experience, technology, and business. Another kind of sidekick definition, the definition that always comes along in the same conversation is the one from Martin Kagan, whose great book Inspired, who says that product management is about discovering and delivering, that's an addenda by myself, a product that's valuable, which is something that, connecting to Martin, is across user experience and business, usable, which is kind of the cross between UX and tech, and also feasible, so combining the possibilities brought by tech and the impact for the business. So is this something that our customers will buy? Is it something that they are able to use? And is it something that we can build and support? So this is kind of the base question of product management. Now back to doing this in Scrum, and back to this notion of having two different companies combined to form a Scrum organization. So we have stakeholders and the product owner, which are more tied to the strategical side of the product, and Scrum Master and development team more focused on the technical side. The product owner, of course, is in the middle, getting hit from one side and hit from the other. Just yesterday I was reading an article a colleague of mine shared with me, which said that the product manager is both the CEO and the janitor of the product. So it's all in place. So the kind of the straw man for my point of view that I want to share with you and discuss with you, of course, and I'm also welcome to your contradictory, is that depending on the context, and let's see what the context is, different Scrum team setups work better than others. And now the probably more controversial opinion, in some contexts the best option is ditching Scrum. This is not usually easy to digest when there's a company that prides itself as doing things agile, saying, okay, let's not do agile this time. So let's dig into what the context is. And starting with one setup. In this setup, the product owner is part of what I call here the agency, so the company providing the services. This is more or less the setting I was used to working on, and I worked on for a couple of years, and I started becoming skeptic about it. That's hence the surgence of this kind of point of view. So the product owner being on the agency side has some predicaments, which is HIPPO. Everyone here knows what a HIPPO is? HIPPO, highest paid person's opinion. So when you have this setting in the product owner part of the agency, and especially when it's not clear that product management, really ownership of the product is something that the client really wants, what happens is this. There's a stakeholder that has more power or more leverage, and he just renders the product owner empowered. And that's a classical Scrum smell. If the product owner is not autonomous, if he doesn't have the last word on the product, he's not a real product owner. So he's kind of limited in what he can do. He doesn't have access to the real data to support his product decisions. This ultimately doesn't work. Unless, of course, that's really agreed upon. It's not contemplated. So the solution here seems to be to have the product owner be on the side of the client. Okay? So if the client doesn't want to put another company with a different taxpayer number in charge of their product, they need to put someone in charge of their product on their side. Really working with the stakeholders, looking at the market, looking at the data, doing data-driven decisions, and making sure that product is viable, so valuable, usable, and feasible. But of course, we need not forget that there's this relationship. There's a contract which now doesn't lie here, it lies here. There's a relationship between two companies. So in this setting, what happens is that the role of Scrum Master becomes even more crucial. because he will be the main gateway between the two companies on the agency side. So it's really, really, really crucial that it's someone with the right skills, with the right mindset, and with the right authority to really drive this relationship. And furthermore, something that's always overlooked, and something where the corners are usually cut, it must be someone with the right dedication to the team. By the way, an aside, this talk is based on the Medium post that I wrote a year ago, and if you go to that post, what it says there is that Scrum Master must be fully dedicated. Right now, 1 year later, I don't think that that's kind of that's the ideal setting. Of course, a Scrum Master being 100% dedicated to one team, but in certain settings it can work if the Scrum Master is Scrum Master for a couple of teams. But one thing that is important is to have the Scrum Master be really just a Scrum Master, not someone that comes from another team and does Scrum Master as a part-time. Here in this setting, it's really important that the Scrum Master is dedicated to this role and dedicated to bridging the agency and the client together. So, there's, however, another setting, which is the client doesn't want to hire the product owner, so they don't want to pay the agency for another element of the team, or they don't want to give that authority to someone in another company. But this is kind of slow today. Or battery different. Or they don't either provide a real product owner. They don't have the right person on their side. They might have someone, of course, it can't be like this. They might put someone, who here I call just some guy, who they might say is their product owner, but who doesn't think agile, so he doesn't have the right mindset, the right skills, the right authority within his own company, so he might be underpowered by some loud-speaking stakeholder as well. He might have much more on his plate, so a lot more stakeholders than the ones involved in this relationship. So ultimately, this some guy that the client may say it's your point of contact, he can be your point of contact, but that's not the product owner. If he doesn't have ownership, and in fact, if he doesn't think Scrum, that's not a product owner. And consequently, this is not Scrum. So what happens when there is no Scrum and there's no product owner? If it's something we can live with, then what we need is to acknowledge that this is not Scrum, and then treat this as a product, as a project. Have the project spec'd, agreed upon, have contingency measures in place for scope changes, for all the whatnot of waterfall and related approaches projects. Have that set, not in stone, but in paper, agreed upon. Have a project manager with the same mindset as the some guy on the other side to manage the delivery and deliver it. It's, in my opinion, of course, trying to use Scrum in this setting of some guy thinking waterfall and etc. It's just particle. It's just, okay, we want Scrum because we do Scrum, but if it won't work, I think the best approach is to not use it. This is not easy. Because usually companies have their own ways of working. They might be interested in getting the clients away. But this can clash, for instance, with the development team, that they also are more prone to use Agile. They don't like this waterfall stuff. So there's another way, which is it's fine for a company to have ground rules. A company can say we don't do fridges, so they also can say we don't do PHP. They can say, there are companies that we don't do fixed bid contracts. And another ground rule of a company can be we don't do anything but Scrum. we don't do this kind of project. So another option is to simply say, sorry, but this is not going to happen. Okay? But of course, the company needs to be really confident about this, because this means one of two things. Either them walking away, so it's ballsy. You need to be confident that the way you insist you do stuff is how you deliver the best. Or you end up convincing the client to work with this way, to hire you a product owner, but then you need to be sure that's how you're going to excel. So you shouldn't sell a team with a product owner just because they need someone to chew on requirements and do requirement analysis and putting tickets on Jira. If this is going to happen, then the product owner must be someone who's really going to own the product. He should live and breathe the client's business to understand their product and really deliver a valuable, usable, and feasible product. Otherwise, like I said before, no product owner left alone. So, summing up, that was technically quite quick. This is good because it leaves for discussion. Okay, questions later. Is the first one. So, summing up, product owners on the agency side, okay, only if product ownership / product management is specifically agreed as part of the hired services. Otherwise, the product owner will be underpowered, and this will be a source of constant conflict, which is kind of counter to customer collaboration. Product owner on the client side, it's a good setting, and he what happens is the Scrum Master becomes the key figure in the relationship between these two companies on the agency side. So he must be skilled, trained, and committed. As I said before, I don't think it's necessary to be strict about 100% committed to one team, but certainly someone who is committed to being a Scrum Master. Other scenario is clients won't have their own product owner, so they will have a real product owner owning the product, but they won't apply that skill set or that role to the agency company. So in my opinion here, there's no room for Scrum or a continuous relationship yet. This is something we can achieve, but we need to establish the relationship first, and the way for that should be through projects. So you can use those projects, despite not being agile, to try and put some flavor of agility there, or at least not putting the flavor, but saying to the client, you know, this that we delivered exactly as planned, it would be better if we had done this iteratively, and if we have put this in the market slowly and getting feedback instead of this whole shebang and then getting to the end and, oh, it wasn't really it. So that's a way to build a relationship towards that, one of the more ideal scenarios. Or simply, if this is something that's not bound to work, walk away. As we say in Portuguese, a little bit of Portuguese in this talk. Há mais marés que marinheiros. I really don't know if there's an English counterpart to this saying. But yeah, sometimes this can be the reason, the outcome, sorry. So there's, as I said, when you will post about this, which of course is my view 1 year ago, which has evolved somewhat. The part that I didn't mention is, or that I didn't highlight, is also kind of the learnings from it and the maturing of this vision, also brought by the experience from working at a product company for the last 10 months. And it basically has solidified my view of the product owner being, of the importance of the product owner of being close to the business, so close to the stakeholders, and of being the final authority of the product. This doesn't mean, I think there's sometimes a problem with the word authority. Authority doesn't mean autocratic management. Authority means just having the last say. Of course, that decision needs to have the right data points into consideration, be it hunches, being data, being customer requests, customer needs, the customer's jobs to be done. There's a whole array of things into play, but there's one person who is responsible for making this coherent vision and deriving a decision. This must be one person, the product owner. So that's mostly it. Thank you for having me, and let's discuss it. I think we have some time to discuss it.